Hi, my name is Princess. I'm 25 years old. I was born deaf because I was born prematurely. My family didn't know how to sign. Growing up, my classmates bullied me, and I was very hurt. In school, I just looked at the teacher, watched what the teacher did, but I didn't understand any. And then my mom found a school for the deaf for me, where I learned basic sign. In high school, I was enrolled in a mainstream setting, and I learned the difference between the hearing and the deaf culture. College, I learned about the deaf community, the deaf identity, the culture, and the language, and its importance. Graduating from college, I was able to find work as a data analyst. My contract just ended last month. Recently, I just volunteered to help the deaf community, and I'm greeting everyone a Happy International Day of Sign Languages and Happy International Week of the Deaf.
Magandang gabi, Pilipinas. Welcome to the Bottom Line. Tonight, we are celebrating the International Week of the Deaf, and beginning this year, we celebrated the International Day of Sign Languages. Our guests. Let's start with host of DZMM, Usapang de Campanilla, Attorney Claire Castro. Welcome to the Bottom Line. We have the Director, International Day of Sign Languages, BIBO Perey. We have interpreter from the Philippine Association of Interpreters for Deaf Empowerment, Leia Apuli. Julie Esguerra is a founder and president, Philippine Institute for the Deaf. Good evening, Julie. And we have the chair of the National Council on Disability Affairs, Carmen Zubiaga. Maraming salamat. Our bottom liners, let's start with our young friend from Miriam College, Cristina Collado. And we have a young librarian from Letran, Calamba, Josh Raimundo. Of course, Josh ay kasama ang kanyang ina, the beautiful Kay Raimundo. We also have, from the College of St. Benilde, Princess Tadeo. We have the first deaf singer in this country, Jasmine Concepcion. Let's start with Carmen. Kumusta ang estado ng deaf community dito sa bansa? At itutuloy ko na. Ano ang public attitude towards the deaf community?
If we look at about mga 10 years or more, I think the deaf situation is better because we have many deaf young people who are educated. They are professionals. They have jobs. But of course, nandyan pa rin yung mga discrimination.
Of course, I'd like to introduce you Jay Lardizabal, who is interpreting for us tonight. In a while, we will have Joy. Joy Villarreal, who will be sharing interpretation for the Bottom Line tonight. Julie, from where you are, kumusta yung komunidad? How is the deaf community?
We have about approximately 8 million deaf in the Philippines, and that includes, from babies who were born deaf and through our lola who from 60 and above. So all of this. Some deaf children or learners are in the public schools or in the regular schools. Hindi alam sa public schools na sila deaf dahil wala tayong assessment, wala tayong mga audiologists.
Should that be corrected, Julie?
It should.
It should be
It
corrected.
should be.
Pero ang alam ng mga magulang kasi ay dapat ihalo lamang sila doon sa mga ibang estudyante. Is that what you're trying to say? Na hindi naman sila aware na yung halimbawa ang bata ay deaf.
Hindi sila aware na ang bata deaf. Lalong-lalo na
Is that bad for the child?
It is bad.
It is. Okay.
Yes, because magre-retard yung kanyang learning kung hindi siya properly diagnosed para mabigyan siya ng karampatang programa.
Alright.
So dapat at 6 years old, bago tanggapin ang public schools natin, may assessment. Bawat region sa Pilipinas, meron tayong special education center. So pwede silang pumunta doon. So hindi lahat ng public schools meron nun.
And that is to say it's not so accessible.
Sometimes they're not.
Sige. So, but you were initially talking about government support. How much of it is present now?
At the moment,
In the context, lalo na of accessibility.
yes, if we look at government services down there at the geographically isolated areas, we can say that persons with disabilities have very little access to services, especially in health, rehabilitation, and even in education, especially in those isolated areas like Samar, northern Samar, in far-flung Mindanao, and especially in the ARMM. But we have some NGO partners who are sprinkled in this areas. Some of them are really focusing on the deaf children.
Pero ang gobyerno natin, huli na lamang, ay ginagawa ang lahat para ma-address ang kakulangan.
Especially in education, because now we are really
Okay.
pushing for inclusive education wherein hindi natin gusto na ang mga bata ay nakakontain sa isang lugar while the other children are doing were there and they were segregated, because we really ayaw natin ng segregation.
Di ba mahabang proseso ito dahil nangangahulugan na ang mga guro ay dapat trained? Hindi
It's
po
a
ba?
progressive realization, Kuya Boy.
It
So
is.
I think we are starting now, and we hope that with this some educated deaf people, deaf professionals who are really committed, na nakita kasi nila, they reach their status the hard way.
Okay. Bibo, ang aking tanong ay, simula ngayong taon, September 23, we're celebrating the International Day of Sign Languages. Kwentuhan mo kami ano ang ibig sabihin nito at ano ang goal ng selebrasyon na ito.
It was a hard work talaga. Ginawa namin yung celebration, inorganize namin siya. So yung goal nyon, to continue and fight for our sign languages. So in-advocate namin siya sa iba't ibang lugar kung saan ito ang aming lengguwahe. At ina-advocate namin to at ito ang aming karapatan.
Dahil naniniwala tayo na ang sign language is equal to all kind of languages. Tama ba ako, Bibo?
Opo.
Ang tema ng International Day of Sign Languages ay, with sign language, everyone is included. Pwede bang tulungan niyo ako magpaliwanag? Leia?
Yung sign language po kasi, ito yung access for communication. Para po maka-mainstream sila sa ating society, ginagamit po nilang sign language. Sa atin po kasi spoken. Sa kanila is a sign language. With that, ano po natin, ma-break po yung language barrier between the hearing and the deaf person. For example po, as a teacher, ang inaano po natin yung mainstreaming. Mayroon pong regular teacher na nagtuturo. And that, ang role po natin as interpreter, kung ano po yung tinuro ng teacher or yung speaker, na-across po natin ng deaf through accessibility sa communication gawa ng sign language. So whatever the hearing students na-acquire nilang ng knowledge, nakukuha po ng deaf, gawa po may interpreter. So kasi naman ang deaf naman po ay ang problem lang ay yung pandinig. So yung kanilang cognitive ay okay naman po. Kahit saan po silang venue, seminars, or kahit sa church, as long as na may interpreter, hindi po nakikita ang disability nila. Nagkakaroon po tayo ng equal footing as long as na nandun po yung interpreter.
Nasaan tayo ngayon kung karapatan of a deaf individual ang pinag-uusapan? Nasaan tayo?
Actually, as early as 1983, we passed the first disability law in the world. That is the accessibility law. And in 1992, we passed the Magna Carta of the Disabled Person, or Republic Act 7277, which really enumerated the rights of persons with disability in education, employment, health, public life, and auxiliary social services. And it also it also tells us that public ridicule and vilification is punishable by law. Kapag tinukso mo lang ang isang person with disability at napahiya siya, the person with disability can file a case. And we have already some cases that won in the court.
Okay. Puntahan lamang natin, dahil napapag-usapan na ho natin ang Magna Carta for persons with disability. Ito yung sinasabi mo, Carmen, Title 4, Chapter 1, Section 40. Attorney Claire, no? No individual, group, or community shall execute any of these acts of ridicule against persons with disability in any time and place which could intimidate or result in loss of self-esteem of the latter.
Exactly.
Public ridicule, an act which is defined as an act of making fun or contemptuous imitating or making mockery of persons with disability, whether in writing or in words or in action due to their impairments. Title 4, Chapter 2, Section 42, any individual, group, or community, para klaro lamang po ang ating pinag-uusapan ng Magna Carta, is hereby prohibited from vilifying any person with disability which could result into loss of self-esteem of the latter. Ang vilification, ang ibig sabihin, is the utterance of slanderous and abusive statements against a person with disability and or an activity in public which incites hatred towards serious contempt for or severe ridicule of persons with disability. Okay. Ang nais ko pong itanong, I don't know if Julie can address this. Mga karapatan, because you've dealt with the community for quite a long time. Ito ba'y nauunawaan, ito ba'y iginagalang ng mga kapwa tao ng deaf community when we talk about rights?
Yung paggalang, nandun na, kaya lang kulang pa rin, no? Kailangan natin ng public awareness campaign or information. Dapat ang DOH, katulong ng NCDA, magkaroon
Magpalaganap ng
Oo,
impormasyon.
lalo na yung mga 1-minuter sa TV at sa radio, bugbugin talaga kasi may hirapan ng publikong tanggapin dahil hindi nila naiintindihan rin sometimes yung disability.
Julie, bakit nahihirapan ang publiko tanggapin ito? Is it something that is cultural?
No. Actually, in the past, kasi binigyan ng mga...
So this is not part of our culture?
No, it's not part of
It's
our
not
culture.
cultural
No,
at all?
no.
Okay.
Parang binigyan, biro-biro, kaya masama nga yung biro-biroan eh. Nagiging ano siya, tagline na pagka nag-enjoy.
So saan ang galing yung mga
Yung kagaya ng
biro-biroan?
deaf and dumb. Mali yun eh. Deaf and dumb, yung deaf
Or
and
deaf
mute.
and mute.
Oo,
Yung
kasi
mga ganun.
yung deaf, pag pinanganak, pumasok sa isang oral school, kagaya ng school namin, PID, hindi na siya mute. Deaf lang siya. So yung oral school teaches the deaf to speak.
Bibo, may nais ka bang idagdag?
Yes, I'm just worried po. Kasi halimbawa, ang mga nakakarinig, hindi po sila minsan tumitigil ng katitukso. Hindi ba inborn ang taong may kapansanan? Ako po may mga kapatid na bingi din. Or at may hearing din. Sinasabi nila, putol dila ako, hindi ako nakasalita. Lumaki po akong na-trauma kasama yung mga kapatid kong nakakarinig. Tapos meron po, naalala ko nung presidential debate, buti na lang nagkaroon ng interpreter inset. Tapos meron po nagkaroon ng mga memes, kumalat sa social media, parang patuloy sila, parang pagbago, ginagawa nilang katatawanan. Ngayon po, ito naman, yung nangyari po recently kay Mocha. Parang, she is a government official, tapos gagawin mo yon in public, maraming tao ang gagaya sa'yo. Kahit hindi mo siya alam na nakakatukso ka, nakakasakit ka, marami ang gagaya sa ginagawa mo at marami kaming masasaktan.
Bibo, paano ka nabully as a young child?
Dati po, halimbawa, sa jeep. Nangyari po sa akin, kasama ko po yung mga kaklase kong deaf. Nagkakwentuhan po kami. Tapos yung mga kasama namin sa jeep, ginagaya nila, mini-westra nila yung senyas namin. So parang, siguro bago sa kanila, or yung mga may bulag, hinahayaan nila, naglalakad sa kalsada, nahulog na sa manhole, hindi pa nila natulungan. So parang, sana po meron pong kamulatan na makita na pantay-pantay lang tayo. Kasama din, meron po tayong cyberbullying, kasama din po kami yan sa mga nababash. Maganda at meron tayong RA 9442. Pero pag ginagamit natin ng social media, maganda sana kung nagamit natin tamang paraan. Pero kung maling paraan, hindi na po ito nakakatulong. Paano ba? So, hindi pwedeng nakanganga ka lang, gumagalaw ka, dapat tumalaban ka, dapat may accessibility, dapat may batas, hindi po kami dapat ginaganito.
Yes.
Yes, I think tama sila na as of now, although yung government natin ay may ginawa na, yung mga mababatas natin ay gumawa na ng mga batas na pabor sa mga PWDs, no? Pero hindi siya sapat. Yung suporta na ibibigay sana ng gobyerno dapat kumpleto. Halimbawa, yung Magna Carta for disabled person with disability. Hindi naman alam ng mga kababayan natin na kapag ikaw ay nanukso ng isang PWD or kinutya mo, ikaw pala pwedeng makulong. So tingin ko, ang gobyerno dapat imulat yung ating mga kababayan na ito ang pwede mangyari sa inyo kapag yung kapwa nyo na yung PWD ay sinaktan yung damdamin at nawala yung kanyang integridad dahil sa panunukso ninyo, itong kasasapitan nyo, pwede kayong makulong.
Halimbawa, ako'y nagkasala laban dito sa batas na ito.
Yes.
Can I defend myself by saying I am not aware of the law?
Hindi. Because
okay.
ito'y na-publish. Kaya nagkakaroon ng publication yung bawat
Okay.
batas. It is considered as knowledge to the whole world.
Para malaman ng tao. Are you aware of the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities? Maiklian lamang. Who can talk about it?
Well, it is the first, ito yung unang-unang binding treaty na pinirmahan ang Pilipinas as a state party. And it's different from other treaties because this treaty is considered as a part of the laws of the land. And it can be cited in some cases and can be reference kapag tayo ay gumagawa ng mga local laws. And in fact, meron tayong tungkulin na i-harmonize ang ating mga batas in accordance with the UNCRPD. And ang CRPD, it promotes, protects, and fulfill the rights of persons with disabilities.
Involve natin ang ating bottom liners. Ano ba, para lamang maintindihan, dahil kanina sinasabi natin, kulang tayo sa information dissemination. May kakulangan sa pagpapalagana, pagpapaalam sa ating mga kababayan sa mga issues na nakapaligid dito. Hindi man buo, pero ang mga pagtitipon ng ganito should give us a chance to be able to promote kung ano man ang dapat malaman ng ibang tao. Let's say the deaf community, dito tayo mag-focus. Ano yung pinaka-common na misconceptions about this community? Kay, would you like to start?
I'd like to think that the misconception of being deaf, if I could speak for deaf only, I'm sorry about the other PWDs, I cannot speak for them. With deaf, they think that it's very difficult to speak with them. Yung mahirap silang umintindi, they won't be understood, they cannot communicate.
Which is totally untrue.
No, it's very untrue because especially now that even with a lot of improvements needed sa pag-aayos ng how to teach the deaf children or the youth, there have been a lot of improvement already. For example, us being here in this forum is already an improvement because we're trying to educate everybody on what they are capable of and how to teach them and how to care for them. So there will be a lot of opportunities for us to work with them and make them more productive people for our society.
All right. Jasmine, I want to know, in your experience, ano yung pinakamadalas na misconception about you? What is the first reaction of people when they learn that you are number one, singer, and number two, that you're deaf?
I'm really proud. I'm really proud because this community knows me and this community understand how they have their own talent. Yeah.
I'll go to Josh. Josh, parehong tanong. Ano yung pinakamadalas na, what is the most common misconception about the deaf?
The first thing about that, because sign language, like if they don't know sign language, like a crazy action, they don't know
Crazy
speaking like crazy action. What are they thinking? And are they?
Do people laugh?
They don't laugh.
They don't.
Disgusted face.
Oh.
Oh, disgusted.
Like we don't know sign language. Like bigger action, like that. They just stare at us.
Stare.
They stare.
Yeah.
And do you consider that stare insulting?
Yes, but it would feel, for example, me, if I sign language, they're staring at me, and what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being a sign language? Our language, it's how we communicate. And is it like, they don't know our language, they haven't just sign language, not spreading around.
Okay, I get it. What about you, Christina? What is your story about people's misconceptions about the deaf people?
Basically, I'm not born deaf. Naging deaf po ako at the age of 13. During that time, when I become deaf, hindi po ako nakipag-interact sa mga kapwa ko bata kasi po, kapag lumalabas po ako ng bahay, lagi po nila akong tinutokso na bingi, o kaya po, tinatawag po nila ako sa kung anong pangalan, iba't ibang pangalan. So, yun po yung dahilan kung bakit tumigil po ako ng pag-aaral 4 years. Because of that, naka-experience po ako ng depression.
Paano nabago yun? Paano mo nalampasan yun?
Yung lolo ko po yung tumulong sa akin para po bumangon ulit. Siya po yung nagbukas ng isipan ko na hindi po lang yung kapansanan ko para maging successful. Doon po ako nag-decide na ipagpatuloy yung pag-aaral ko.
Thank you. Very good. Princess, your story. Yung naranasan mong misconception about the deaf community.
One of my experiences po, nung lumalaki ako, I was being bullied. I didn't know na tinutokso ako. Basta ganun, nakita ko lang na ginagano. Then, nasasaktan, na hindi naman ako sure kung ano yung sinasabi nila. Tapos ang sabi nila sa akin, biyaan mo na lang sila. Actually, hindi ko naintindihan kung bakit nila ako tinutokso ng gano'n. So, hinayaan ko lang sila. Nung nagtrabaho naman po ako, like, ang na-experience ko po, iba kong mga deaf na kaibigan, hirap na hirap kasi hindi sila makahanap ng trabaho. Kasi sabi ko lang sa kanila, subukan lang niya lang kasi maraming mga companies ang sinasabi nila, pag deaf ka, akala pag deaf ka, nadi-discriminate agad. Kasi communication, wala ka na agad. Communication is the main problem. If you're at work, you have to communicate. Ako po, ang work ko po dati is, I was a data analyst. Ang daming paraan ng communicating, sending emails, iba-iba, iba-iba po. So there are other apps or ways to communicate with the deaf. But unfortunately po, hindi po yun nangyari sa ibang mga kaibigan ko. I had to help them na makahanap ng trabaho. But it's not easy. Kasi ito nga yung pananaw, yung misconception, ang deaf hindi kaya. But we can. Maghanap lang ng ibang paraan. High school, ganun din po ako. Di ba nasa mainstream po ako na deaf tsaka hearing. I tried po not to interact with my hearing classmates. Tapos, na-realize ko na nakita po nila na iba yung kultura nila, iba yung kultura din namin. At natuto kami sa isa't isa, magkakasama kami. At natural lang yun. Na-realize na we're normal people. Na wala po yung pagbubuli doon sa school namin. Nang naging advocate po ako sa aking organization, I learned to volunteer. And I realized that deaf people are kind. Yun po na-experience ko po nung high school na nakatayo kami sa bus, tapos nagkakwentuhan, parang bago sa mata ng mga tao, tapos ginagaya-gaya nila. Sana maintindihan nila na itong senyas, ito ang kultura namin at ito rin ang aming karapatan.
Thank you for that story. Yes.
Nagdagdag lang ako kasi di ba sabi nga nila na parang ginagaya sila kasi parang hindi usual na nakikita yung mga ganitong klaseng sign language. Meron kasing Senate bill ngayon na sinususog ngayon na talagang mas maganda sana na mai-approve. Kasi gagawin ng, one of the parte no, ng school curriculum, yung sign language. So kung lahat ng tao, kahit hindi siya deaf, marunong mag-sign language, magiging normal na siya sa paningin ng tao.
This is Senate Bill 1455.
Yes.
The Filipino Sign Language. Okay. Ito'y gustong-gusto kong marinig ngayon at mapag-usapan natin dahil ano ba yung mga tama at hindi tama na mga salita para mapakinggan at mapanood tayo ng ating mga kababayan. May mga appropriate at may mga hindi appropriate na mga words. Ano ang mga ito at ipaunawa natin sa publiko kung bakit. Let's start with BIBO.
Kami ang tawag sa amin ay deaf. So yun ang identity namin. Deaf and dumb, hindi po. Deaf and mute, hindi rin po.
BIBO, pwedeng ipaliwanag kung bakit mali, lalo na ang deaf and mute. Yung deaf and dumb, kontra ako doon, dahil naiintindihan ko na yan ay isang uri ng diskriminasyon. Pero yung deaf and mute, para malaman ng ating mga kababayan, bakit mali yun?
Sige po, deaf and mute po, mali po yan kasi yung mga bingi po ay meron po mga pananalita po yan. Halimbawa, mute po, ibig sabihin ba po pagka sa TV po, pag minute nyo po, ibig sabihin hindi po naririnig po yun, di ba po? So mas maganda po na lang lagay na deaf lang po. Katulad ng pagsisenyas po. O sa magboboses po, meron po mga hard of hearing po, kaya po nila. Eh yun sa Tagalog nga po, yung pipi po, hindi po yung katanggap-tanggap po. Kasi nakaka-insulto po yun. Dahil meron po kaming meron po kaming boses po. At nagiging sensitibo po kami dito pag sinasabi po kaming pipi. Mas maganda po, deaf po, o kaya bingi po. Okay po?
Okay. Alright. Ano pa? Meron pa bang...
Yung deaf and dumb nga po, isa po rin yun na hindi ko po o idiot o ano pa tungkol po dyan na wala po kaming problema po sa kami po ay kaya po namin gawin ang lahat po. Ang problema lang po nga sa komunikasyon nga po. At kaya po namin tumayo sa sarili namin pa po na hindi po kami dumb po. So mas maganda po deaf po na malaki po yung D. Kaya alam po mas maganda po rin na nakikita po sa TV po o sa news na halimbawa, parati po nakikita po sa news, deaf and mute o kaya pipi po. Sana po malaman po nila na yung tamang salita po ay deaf o bingi po, whether big D o maliit na D po. So, yun po yung mas maganda po, nakikita po deaf po. Dito sa Philippines po, all over po, ang maganda po, deaf o bingi po.
Okay. Julius, you wanted to say
Ayaw
something?
rin nilang tawaging hearing impaired, ayaw nila. Kasi yung impaired, may negative sa mind nila.
Okay.
Anong may sira? Walang may sira. So, deaf lang.
Okay. Ano ho ba ang tama? Person with disability, naririnig ko ngayon, person with special abilities, specially abled, ano ang tama, ano ang mali?
Since nung tayo ay naging signatory sa UN Convention on the Rights of Disabilities, we adopted the social model of disability perspective, which is the rights-based approach. So, when we promote the term, the politically correct term is person with disability. Ayaw namin tinatawag ng differently abled, handicapped, especially talented, because these words are not in the dictionary.
Okay.
It should be person first. Like if you...
It's person with disability ang tama.
Let's just be plain, person with disability, person who uses wheelchair, persons who are deaf.
It starts with person.
Yes. And one thing is that if you compare us to people without disability, you do not say the person with disabilities and the normal. Just say person with disabilities and without disabilities.
Okay.
You do not say normal.
I really get it. I really get it. Because when you say normal, the other side is abnormal.
Right. Don't abbreviate. You don't use PWD.
Oh my God, talaga?
Yes.
So we don't say OMG, and I'm just joking. No, ang hilig pa naman ngayon
Ang hiling natin
mga
mag-abbreviate.
acronyms, di ba?
yeah.
PWD.
Yeah.
So we say person with disabilities.
Yes.
We're learning. Meron bang maidadagdag kayo? Yes, Bibo.
Just want to add, yung hearing impaired, it's, pag tinitingnan nga natin yan, sinasabi, HI. Anong HI? Ibig sabihin, tinitingnan namin yung kapansanan o yung problema namin sa pandinig. Sa DOH nga, sabi nga, hindi sila aware regarding sa identity namin, regarding sa HI, kasi it's a medical perspective point of view. So, ibig sabihin, tinitingnan yung pandinig namin. Pero hindi tinitingnan bilang tao kami. Pag tinitingnan na lang namin dyan, nag-appear na lang dyan, yung mga, halimbawa, doon sa mga nilalagay sa mga IDs na communication disability o disability, hindi dapat yun nilalagay doon. Ang dapat ang nilalagay doon ay yung deaf. At dapat ang may responsibleng agency dyan ay ang DOH.
Maraming salamat. Okay. Ngayon tayo pumunta na doon sa kontrobersiya. Complaints have been filed at the Ombudsman against PCOO Asek Mocha Uson and blogger Drew Olivar. The complaints were filed by Caroline Gagani and Dr. Liza Martinez. Iko-quote ko lamang yung sinabi ni Caroline. Mocha Uson and Drew Olivar were laughing and making fun of us. Together, they stepped all over us and crushed us, killing our dignity, end of quote. According to Dr. Liza Martinez, Executive Director of the Philippine Deaf Resource Center, these laws may have been violated. Ito na yung sinabi, yung United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees, Civil Code, Cybercrime Law, Magna Carta for Persons with Disabilities. Sabi ni Dr. Martinez, and I quote, meron kasing specific sections doon regarding the vilification, ridicule of persons with disabilities, end of quote. Sino ang nais magsalitang una? Julie.
Unang-una, lahat tayo, pantay-pantay. Kailangan equality and non-discrimination. So, kung halimbawang gusto lang niya mag-muestra-muestra, kagaya ko, hindi ako marunong mag-sign language. Pero yung nagtatawanan, tawa ng tawa, so parang enjoy na enjoy sila na, sige, ganito sila. Yung mga kagaya ng mga salitang, may parada ang mga bingi. Hindi magandang pakinggan. That's against the law.
Okay.
Oo. Ibig ko sabihin, kung hindi naman nila nabasa yung law, hindi maganda. Alam nila dapat yung tama at hindi tama.
Okay. Bukas po ang programang ito sa panig ni Asek Mocha Uson at ni Drew Olivar. May nais kang idagdag, Carmen?
Okay. We want the deaf to really stand up for their rights, and we, as government agencies, support them. And whatever legal help or remedies that we can provide them, NCDA will provide.
Leah, may nais kang idagdag?
Actually,
Bilang isang interpreter.
as an interpreter, I am talagang hindi kami natuwa sa ginawa niya. Kasi alam naman na yung ginawa niya, language talaga yun ng deaf. Parang ano lang kami, ano ang purpose, bakit nila ginawa, and then pinost pa nila. So marami talagang nakakita, kahit mga estudyante ko, they were asking me, tapos inaano nila yung kanilang reactions, naramdaman ko. So talagang nalungkot yung deaf community, kahit mga SPED teachers at saka mga deaf advocates. Para sa deaf, mahalaga yung kanilang language. Kasi dapat nire-respeto, pantay rin naman tayo.
Si Bibo.
Yung federalismo na nabanggit nga, yung salita na yan, in my personal point of view, hindi ko maintindihan kung ano nangyari. Yung yung vagina, yung penis, na nandyan, naiintindihan ko yon. Parang insulto na rin yon sa mga Pilipino. Then yung pangalawa, yung Pepe para dun sa Filipino Sign Language, yung sa senyas namin. Kaya nga lahat kami mga bingi, mga deaf community nga, talagang kinuha namin yung sinabi na namin si Mocha na dapat talagang mag-sorry. Pero yung pag-sorry niya, hindi enough kasi yun eh. Lahat sila nagsasalita. Hindi namin naiintindihan kung ano yung sinasabi nila. Eh, di ba siyempre, sinabi lang yan para sa mga nakakarinig. Eh, paano naman kami mga bingi? Eh, yung mga sinasabi nila. Yung kay Mocha, sinabi niya, may senya siyang sorry. Pero dapat, merong inset doon para naintindihan namin kung ano yung sinabi niya. So, sinasabi nga namin na hindi namin tinatanggap yung paumanhin niya at final namin talaga yung sa ombudsman.
Okay, how did you react as a mother?
I think just penalize kasi there's a law. So everybody should know, especially they are public figures. There are a lot of people na nagmamock sa mga deaf, but pinapalampas natin. But these people who are public figures, they cannot just do what they want and get away with it. These people are in position. So we are looking forward to them being penalized as anybody.
Yes. Kanina, Boyd, bananggit mo nga kung ano yung public ridicule.
Okay.
It's an act of making fun, contemptuous imitating, or making a mockery of persons with disability. Sa nakita ko kasi sa video, wala akong nakitang mockery of the persons with disability. Maybe they use hand gestures, kasi nagkakasiyahan sila. Maybe ginamit nilang joke, yung tool of communication, but not the person with disability.
Would you like to react, BIBO?
Yung nangyari pong to, for example, may nangyari po, for example, sa South Africa, may news po na yung interpreter, invento siya ng invento. Kung ano yung sinasabi niya, hinuli siya, pinarusahan. Bakit di pwedeng mangyari ito sa Pilipinas? We penalize them. Whether in Europe, in America, or whatever country they come from, pag ganitong nangyayari, may penalty na nangyayari, ginagawa. Bakit hindi pwedeng gawin dito sa Pilipinas?
Okay, the status of the case now involving Asek Mocha Uson and blogger Drew Olivar ay nasa na? You filed a case?
We urge that the Philippine Federation of the Deaf, who is the most aggrieved party on this, really be in the front line because they were really the ones who
Have they
were
done
the ones. Yes, they have filed
You
the
filed the
case.
case.
They filed the case in the Commission on Human Rights and they filed a case in the Ombudsman.
Okay.
And they will, we also encourage them to file it in other courts.
But you were also quoted to have said, Attorney Claire, that Mocha and Drew should be more circumspect.
Medyo dapat sensitive lang sila.
You said that in
Yes.
your radio program.
Yes.
Na maging sensitibo.
Yes.
Oo. What you shared with us is a legal opinion.
Yes, kung what is being defined in the law and how to interpret it based on my knowledge. So, what will be their liability if ever kung ito'y mapupursue? So, but, syempre, as a human, they should also be sensitive in this matter.
If I may add, sign language is not a way to make fun of people. Kami po, Philippine Federation of the Deaf, we ask the community, our community from the north, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, they complained. Most of the deaf people in our organization, they said this is not a laughing matter. So we filed a complaint to CHR and the Ombudsman. And we hope that these people learn their lesson and not make a habit out of making fun of the language. Kung lagi natin itong pinapa-ubayan na lang na okay lang, hindi, walang matututo. So if you give people this penalty, then everyone knows what to do and be aware of it.
Didn't it matter to you that Mocha and Drew apologized?
Yeah, no po, they said sorry. We hear that. But we didn't understand whatever they said afterwards. Dapat po if they were really sincere in what they were saying, sana may interpreter in set. They got someone to sign what they were saying. So they were just like saying sorry to the other hearing people, not to us. So the sorry was not really, it was half meant.
Okay. Princess?
What BIBO was saying about what ASEC Mocha and what Bolivar did. I know she signed, sabi niya, sorry, but she said school. Actually, signed niya school, but maybe she wanted to say forgive me. Forgive us. Tapos, I didn't know what she said afterwards. So sinayin lang niya po yung sorry, forgive us. The main reason why they did that from the start, we don't understand. So we don't accept the sorry.
Okay.
Kasi po parang patuloy po ito eh. Kung hindi po kami tatayo at magsasabing tama na, matutuloy-tuloy lang siyang mangyayari. May batas man tayo, asa ng ngipin, asa ng mga taong tumutulong sa amin para baguhin ang awareness o ang kamulatan na hindi dapat ito ginagawa.
Si Christina, may nais idagdag.
May sila po sa akin yung mga classmate ko po about sa issue tungkol kay Mukwa. Lahat po sila, nasaktan po. Kahit daw po na nagsorry na siya, pero hindi po yun enough kasi po hindi po nagpapakahirap yung mga magulang nila para pag-aralin sila, para gawin lang nakatatawanan. Yung tayong gusto lang po namin is una, respeto. Pangalawa, acceptance. At pangatlo, compassion. Yun lang po yung gusto namin.
I've seen the video of the vloggers Mocha, Usun, and her friend, Drew. They were hurting me so much. And, yung sa Facebook, parang nagalit ako kasi, walang respect sa mga deaf community kasi, kasi syempre naman, sabi niya yung Mocha Uso tsaka si, yung friend ni Drew, apologize sa akin. Pero tama yan, yung deaf community, parang not accept their, apologize yun.
Okay. Let's end this in a happy note. I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. I wanted to end the show by saying, with sign language, everyone is included. How do you say that in sign language? With sign language, everyone
Is included.
is included, and that's the bottom line. And that's the bottom line.
The bottom line.
Maraming salamat, Pilipinas. Good night.